Hi, and welcome to another presentation from your business tutor, learning your way, anytime, anywhere. As we have already found out, organic and external growth are regularly used by organisations. However, although growth offers an organisation a number of benefits, we have also found out that if not done effectively, that significant problems can occur. As such, in this presentation, we will look at how an organisation may restructure after growth to ensure any problems that arise are eliminated. So what are we going to learn in today's presentation? Well, first of all, we're going to find out about the role of competition policy. After that, we're going to explore how an organisation may restructure. And then finally, we're going to identify the advantages and disadvantages of restructuring. In a small number of situations, the problems that arise from business growth are so severe that they can jeopardise the success of an organisation. When this occurs, management must take radical action and restructure their organisation. However, before looking at how a business may decide to restructure, it is important to explore the role of the government in managing business growth by looking at how competition policy can affect business growth. In most circumstances, the decision to grow in size or restructure will be in the hands of the organisation itself. However, occasionally the government may influence this decision through competition policy. As we know, when an organisation grows in size, sometimes it gains significant market power, which reduces competition in the marketplace. When this happens, a government organisation called the Competition and Markets Authority, abbreviated to CMA, will investigate using the powers of the Competition Act 1998 to identify if an organisation is abusing its market power to get rid of competition or to charge customers excessively high prices. If found guilty of such behaviour, the Competition and Markets Authority can take the following action against an organisation. First, they can order the business to change its practices, such as telling them to reduce their prices so that customers find them more affordable. Second, they can fine the business for abusing its power. And third, they can force the organisation to sell off parts of its business to reduce its market power. However, as well as investigating situations where growth has already occurred, the Competition and Markets Authority also has powers to investigate mergers and takeovers that have the potential to create an enlarged organisation with too much control over their market. In such circumstances, the merger or takeover being investigated may be disallowed on competition grounds. If it is believed it would result in the enlarged organisation having too much market power that would reduce customer choice. Now that we've looked at how competition policy can influence business growth and cause an organisation to restructure, we should now return to explore how a business itself may decide to restructure when issues caused by growth jeopardise its success. So with that, let's ask, how can an organisation use outsourcing to restructure? Probably the most popular way in which an organisation can restructure itself is using outsourcing. This is when an organisation buys in or contracts another business to carry out an activity that the organisation had previously done itself. For example, many firms outsource the storage of their electronic computer files to a cloud computing provider, whereas other companies might outsource the manufacturing of their products to factories located abroad. Whatever activities and tasks are outsourced, The advantages to an organisation can be significant. First, outsourcing is usually an effective way of an organisation reducing its costs. This is because the department, staff and equipment inside the business that previously carried out the task can be removed. Although the outsourced service now has to be paid for, the cost of this will be cheaper than if the organisation had carried on providing it itself. A second advantage of outsourcing is that by buying in the service from a specialist organisation, the business will receive a better service than it could provide itself. This, of course, will not only help the business run more smoothly, but removes a significant level of responsibility from the shoulders of management. This, of course, helps deliver a third advantage in that the organisation can now focus on its core activities. Those activities that generate the revenue and profits that drive the business forward. This is a really important point, as focusing on core activities should improve how they are run, meaning the business can deliver better service and can gain competitive advantage. However, as popular as outsourcing is, there are some disadvantages associated with its use. For example, although outsourcing is a cheaper way of providing a non-core activity, it has to be remembered that it is based on an organisation buying in a standardised service. If, however, the organisation wants a specialised piece of work to be carried out, or requires the work to be completed sooner than it's stipulated in the outsourcing contract, then it may very well have to pay a significant premium for this. Of course, this links to a second disadvantage, in that if the outsourcing contract does not accurately detail what the organisation wants, then the level of service provided may not be of a satisfactory standard. Or the organisation may end up paying significantly more for extra services not detailed in the outsourcing contract. A third problem with outsourcing is that work carried out by the outsourcing organisation may involve them requiring access to trade secrets or confidential information. Obviously, given the sensitive nature of such information, an organisation will not want such valuable data falling into the hands of anyone else. However, as this information is now also held by the outsourced organisation, its protection is very much reliant on how secure their systems and people are. For example, if the outsourced company also undertakes work for one of the organisation's competitors, it will have to make sure that no breaches of secure information take place. A final issue with outsourcing is that if outsourcing involves an organisation making large numbers of staff redundant, that this can create a negative reputation for the business, especially if these jobs are moved abroad to take advantage of lower wage costs. Now, although outsourcing is an incredibly popular way of restructuring an organisation, there are also other methods that a business can use. So with that, let's find out how else an organisation can restructure. Another main way in which an organisation can restructure is to undertake what is called downsizing. This is when an organisation decides to reduce in size by cutting staff numbers, closing down departments, or selling off parts of its business. This decision is usually made in large organisations because certain parts of the business are loss-making, costs are too high, or because streamlining the business will make it easier for the organisation to manage itself and focus on profit-making departments. Of course, as you might expect, there are many ways in which a business can downsize. For example, earlier in the course we looked at delayering, which involved stripping out layers of management in order to flatten the organisational structure. This, as we found out, simplified the management structure and improved the speed of decision making, but also helped a business to reduce its costs. On the other hand, a business could also downsize by undertaking what is called divestment. This is when an organisation sells off part of its business that it no longer wishes to own. For example, by selling off one of its products or by putting up for sale its operations in a foreign country. Now, as you would probably expect, most divestment occurs when a business sells a brand or operations to a competitor. However, although this is a popular method of divestment, an organisation also has other options available to it. For example, the organisation may decide to sell the brand or operations to the current management team. This is called a management buyout, an MBO. Alternatively, they may decide to sell to an external management team, which is called a management buy-in, an MBI. Or thirdly, they may decide to create a separate organisation, which is then sold on a stock exchange to shareholders to create a separate company. The key point here is that whatever method is used, divestment involves an organisation selling off a part of its business that can be run as a separate company. As before, this method of restructuring has a number of benefits. The chief amongst them being that it allows an organisation to raise a significant amount of money, which it can then use to invest in more profitable parts of its business or to pay off debts. Of course, the restructuring of an organisation does not necessarily have to involve the shrinking in size of a business. For example, deintegration is a restructuring process which involves an organisation splitting up into different parts called subsidiaries, where each subsidiary is run as a separate entity. However, and this is an important point, although each subsidiary is separate, all subsidiaries are still owned by a single organisation called the parent company. This type of restructuring is useful because it allows a large business which has become too complicated to run to be simplified. By providing independence, deintegration allows each subsidiary to concentrate on what it does and its own customers. Of course, in some circumstances, deintegration does not go far enough. The problem isn't just that an organisation has become too complicated, but that different parts of the business are so opposed to each other that they can't work together. For example, this can occur when two businesses merge together. But because of culture clashes or conflicting strategies, the benefits of joining are not achieved. In such a circumstance, a decision may be made to restructure by undertaking what is called a demerger. This is when two organisations that had previously merged split up and become two separate businesses again. This therefore allows each business to concentrate on how it wishes to develop and grow, without running into conflict with the other business. So what did we learn today? Well, first of all, we found out about the role of competition policy. We then went on to investigate how an organisation may restructure, And then finally, we explored the advantages and disadvantages of restructuring. Hopefully, this presentation has shown once again that being a senior manager is often a problem-solving role. Business growth, although having the potential for huge benefits, is not guaranteed to have a positive outcome. This is when senior management must prove their worth and come up with remedial action that will overcome these problems. In most circumstances, the solutions required will be fairly simple. However, in others, radical restructuring may be required.